AI, the brand new and revolutionary digital album from Paradise Decay, is now available on Bandcamp, so why not check it out?
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Hi guys, PD here, welcome to the channel, welcome to another new video. Today we're checking out this Stanley Parable. This is the Deluxe edition on Steam. I'm playing on the Rift S today. And this is the brand new VR mod. I can't pronounce this guy's name. I'm going to feature his name above me in the video. I'm also going to leave a link to the mod below the video in the comments section. So here we are, Stanley Parable in VR. Now he does recommend that you play the game seated. You need to look down and you need to make sure there's a shadow below you. This mod is still in early access. So far, hand tracking is working fine. Look at this, guys. And I'm playing on the Rift S, like I said. And this is a really amazing game. If you've never played it.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
It's very similar to like Groundhog Day. You never know what to expect.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Okay, this looks amazing as well. And this is the deluxe version, so this is not the standard version. This is the brand new remastered deluxe version of the game. I have to say it's looking okay. Performance is amazing. We've got smooth locomotion, smooth turning. We're looking for the office. Hello, anybody here? And as you can see, I'm inside the game, look. It's all around me. All in amazing 3D. The only problems you might encounter the first time you boot the game up, you can't see the menus. So when you start the game, when you start a fresh game, the menu is off to the left hand side. I just hit a button and it put me straight into a new game. Okay, let's try to figure out what we're doing. There's a room in there. There's nobody around. And that's the right time. You have to input the time when you start the game.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Do we enter the door on the left or shall we go right? Let's go against the narrative. This game is all about choices. Things will happen in this game depending on your choice. Let's go right.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Yes.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Okay, can we go in these rooms? Okay, that's crouch. That's interesting. My trigger button on the left is my crouch. How do I stand back up again? If I hit the pause button, look, you can see the menu not working properly. Let me recenter my view. There we go. So you hold down either the left thumbstick or the right thumbstick to recenter your view.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Okay, so the narrative wants me to go in here, look. This time I'm going to follow the narrative. Storeroom.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
That's locked.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Okay, let me try and find the boss.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
What's downstairs? There's a red room. Let me check down here, look. Why is this red? Oh, it's the parking lot.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh, wow.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid?
That's amazing.
And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Going round in circles. Okay guys, so you might notice every now and then
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Okay.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself.
Is that
and
me?
collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
So as you can tell, this game's got a really cool narrative. Now we're back again in our starting office. My computer screen is now flashing. Now you might notice when I go through doors there's like a flash, and that's the way the game works, because each time you go through a door it could be a random encounter, something random will happen in the game, and it's a matter of figuring out how to escape from this building. I do know there's multiple endings, lots of surprises. The last time I played this game was flat. I had a really good time playing it. It's not all about these rooms, guys. Lots of things happen, very similar to like Portal.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So this time we're going to follow the instructions. I'm going to follow the narrative this time. See what happens. And we should have a different outcome this time.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
If you watch when I enter this door, there might be a flash. I don't know if you see that flash in the pancake version of the game. I've not played the game for years. I do know when the modder was working on this game, that was one of his biggest issues. to try and minimalise the transition effect. Okay, did not work that time. There's no flash. Okay, we're back in
Yet
here.
there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay, we're going upstairs. And it's got that Portal 2 aesthetic to the game as well. Look at this. This is so realistic. Wow. Hello, boss. This is an amazing room.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
What was it? 2825. 28.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Okay, I see what's happening now. 2845.
2845.
Okay, so my mouse pointer is a little bit... I'm doing that wrong.
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Okay, I got the code wrong. So the interaction with the hand controller and the numbers was not quite right. But the door's open now, so the game's opened the door for me, look. And now you can see the Portal inspiration to the game. That's a bright light. Interesting. That worked. Okay, we're in the lift and we're going down.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Okay, this looks a lot more creepier in VR. This is so good. This is why I want Portal 2 in VR.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. So do we escape or do we go through here? I'm just going to follow the narrative for now, guys. Look at this place. If you're looking for a game that's full of surprises and you never know what to expect, then this game should be on your radar. Okay, I guess we press the big button.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Okay.
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
This looks amazing. The scope and scale is something you only get in VR. So if you're watching this for the first time, you've never tried VR, this feels like a real place. This place is massive, guys. I feel like I'm in an underground bunker. Something out of X-Men. Okay, I guess we click the...
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Fired. Okay, which one's me? This is so cool. This is one of those games that can be overlooked. You might see the trailer, you might see the screenshots, and you might think it's not a game for you. You're probably wrong. And this could be the perfect game for you.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable.
Wow.
Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life
amazing.
Utterly blind to the world?
I really enjoyed this game Pancake Mode, so I can only imagine how cool this is to play the full game in
Here was
VR.
the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
And this is how I imagine, well I know, this is what Portal 2 looks like in VR, because I played in Vortex. The only difference is in this game I've got full hand controls, which I did not have in Portal 2. But this does look like Portal 2 with the scope and scale. Awaiting input. That's a giant monitor screen in front of me. Bigger than the IMAX theatre.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you?
I did.
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Yes, I want control.
I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off and leave.
Okay.
If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
That's not
How
good.
long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine.
Okay.
You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going. What all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now?
Yes.
Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is?
No, I have no idea. I'm confused.
Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless.
You have 3 attempts
to see
remaining.
You made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
That's no good.
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
We're dead. Okay. Back in my office. So we can interact slightly with the controller.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, this time we're going to try a different route.
Stanley took the first open door on his left.
I'm not going to go left. We're going to go straight on.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Warning, do not jump from the cargo lift while it is in motion, will cause death. Penalty for misuse of cargo lift is $1,000. Penalty for jumping is $5,000. Okay. Wow.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
This looks amazing.
I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Who's her?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Who's she? Okay, there's a black room here. Oh!
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her.
Hello? Pizza, please.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha.
Made me jump.
Come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Oh, that's spooky. Okay, so I've shrunk down again. I need to recenter my view. There we go. Like I said, there's still a few bugs in the mod, but this is really playable. That's really creepy how she moved. That's one creepy mannequin.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
That's me. Press A on your controller. Okay, so the A button on my Rift S controller is not working for this part of the game. I've just plugged in my Xbox controller. We're going to try the A button on here.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
So the game might need some key mapping for the controllers. The A button's working on my Xbox controller, so for these parts of the game I can use this for now.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Press the Y.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
I can't actually move or play the game with this controller. I'm just using the button prompts.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Now that's a combo you don't normally see in VR.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Now, because these controllers don't actually have like the arrow keys, sometimes these mods, they allow you to hold down a button and then you can press like your B button and it works. That's just pause. So that's just taking me to the pause menu every time.
But there is no answer.
Oh, she went.
How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Press Y to go to sleep.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Okay. I have no option but to press a button.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Press X.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Please die.
Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
I'm dead. Okay, we're going to have one more go, and this time I'm going to try to, in the room where it says escape.
All his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, we're back here. The bathroom. Let's go in the bathroom. I've got the feeling money's for stealing, but not yours, of course. So that's a lovely purse. Okay, let me check out these doors here. Hitman 3. Business strategy. Let me call the lift. So as you can see, I'm totally going off track, just exploring the game. Is that not going to work? Going down. At the end of the video, guys, I'm going to show you how to install the mod. Really simple. Do we stop? We're just going down and down and down. We're back here. So we haven't been anywhere.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation.
Behind paintings.
But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
Right, let me try this again.
Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
That's 5. Okay. 2, 8.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs.
It worked this time.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Okay, we're back here. Back in this amazing lift. Okay.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
We're going this way, guys. Escape.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
No, I'm not. We're going to survive. There's like gas in here, though.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Okay, is this like an endless corridor?
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Yes. Here we go. Hello, death. That's a long way down. Did we die?
Farewell, Stanley,
Oh.
cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Am I dead? Why is it so dark? To get the mod to work, you will need a copy of the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe Edition on Steam. I don't think this mod works with the original game. I had to buy the game last night. I think it was £20. Next, go to the modder's website. I can't pronounce his name. Ray Kupata. Head over to Ray Kupata's Patreon page, and if you go down here, look to the top post, Stanley VR 0.1.0, download the zip and save it onto your PC. Once you've downloaded the file, you need to unzip it. And you need to find where the game is installed on Steam. So go to your games library on Steam, right click on here, go to manage, go to browse local files, and this is where the game is installed on Steam. On the left is the folder where the game is installed on Steam. On the right is the download of the mod. You need to go into the folder for the mod, grab all these files and drag them into here. For me, I've already installed the mod, so it wants to replace the files look. I'm going to tell it to skip. It's very important that you read the README text here, look. This is going to tell you how to get the game up and running, how to install it, control input lock, that sort of thing. There's certain things you need to make sure you do on Steam for the game to work. I'm going to show you quickly. Go to the game in your library, right click, go to properties, make sure use desktop game theatre while Steam VR is active is unticked. So if this is ticked, it's not going to work. So make sure this is unticked. And the rest is more or less plain sailing. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and subscribe. Be sure to hit my little bell. I'll see you in the next one. I do apologise for the audio quality in this video. I've had to use my phone audio. For some reason the audio quality from my mod mic was corrupted and it did not save. So I'm having to use my backup system, which is my phone. Again, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye!